where do we go from here? And I can see one of a few things happening. Either one, he says, you know, I simply am not at the point where I can do this yet. Number two, he's going to start off with the idea that he might be able to make it through, maybe not make it through, or possibly he can make it all the way through. Time will tell how competitive he is at that point. And again, I think as the day goes on, as the days go on, and the more he walks on that leg, and you can even see him walking here in the pictures you're showing, he's treating that right leg, if you look at the ankle and the foot, a little more gingerly than he treats the left one. And I think that's going to even be more so as time goes on.
Just lastly, Doctor, and I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but what would your medical advice be if Tiger was to pick up the phone and say, how do I pace myself best and how do I recover best to try and get through this full week?
Well, I would say, you know, Tiger, you know your body better than anybody. You know where you've been over the last few months with the rehabilitation and your playing ability. And so I would let that be your guide. Let your body be your guide. And the idea that you understand your body better than everybody. And see what happens over the next couple of days when you're walking the course and practicing. And kind of practice like you play, as we say. In other words, do the same things you're going to do in those 4 days of the Masters. Do it now. See what happens. And see whether you recover completely the next day and can do this day after day. And if so, then push forward. If not, then think about pulling back, at least for a little bit, and saying, hey, you know, we tried this. We're going to go ahead and go back to more rehabilitation and push forward for the next event.
Okay, wonderful advice and great insight, Doc. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. That was Dr. John Torres, who is the medical correspondent for NBC News. Doc, thank you again. So you look at really the timeline of Tiger Woods recently, and that single car accident I mentioned happened on February 23rd, 2021, so it really is only just over 13 months ago. He did post a 3-second video in November last year of him hitting a golf ball on the range that kind of obviously took everybody's attention, and ever since then, I suppose, we have been wondering if not only this, which is the world's biggest stage, but if we would see him hit a golf ball publicly or competitively again.
We've always questioned that after every surgery, it seems like, Mark, you know, of all the surgeries he's had, we've always, to a certain extent, questioned, is this going to be the last time? Is this going to be the last time? And this one was legit. I mean, is this going to be the last time? I mean, that car accident was brutal, And what it did to his right leg was brutal. To see him here 13 months later after listening to the doctor right there talk, it's remarkable, to be very honest with you. But it's also Tiger Woods, and he's done remarkable things throughout his career.
There's a couple of other moments in that recent timeline, Rolf. One of them, which is very notable, was finishing runner-up with his son Charlie at the PNC Championship in December. There was then these rumors that we heard at Riviera when he was hosting the Genesis Invitational that he was walking up those steps from the 18th green to the clubhouse with ease. Where has your mind been as you've watched these glimpses we've seen of Tiger?
My mind has been leaning toward he's going to give this a try. And I think the reason why it may be feasible is if you look at these swings he's making here right now, they look very good to me. These are just short iron swings, but he's totally on balance, not really exerting a whole lot of effort. But that has always been the strength of Tiger's game. If it were driving, if that were the strength of his game over the years, I would be way more concerned than I am with what the strength of his game is being his short game and his approach play. By far, I think, the best iron player. So he's going to have a little bit of a different philosophy if he does decide to give this a go. But the fact is, if he can keep the ball in play, he's not going to overpower Augusta National at all. But he doesn't need to. He just needs to play to his strengths, which is his approach game.
And to that point, Rolf, so we haven't seen him play for quite a while. And again, he has another new body to deal with. After each surgery, and I've had 6 surgeries on my body. I've had 5 hand surgeries and I've had a hip surgery. And after each one, I've had to kind of refigure what my new 100% is. What does my body want to do? What can't it do, or what can it do now that it used to be able to do? And I'd have to adapt. Tiger's going to have to do the same thing, adapt. Okay, what is my body going to give me now? What are the feels that I have now? And that's one feel. The feel that you get when you're hitting golf shots on the range, tournament practice facility like he is right here, or on the range at Medalist at home. That's one feel. Hitting shots on the golf course at home at Medalist. That's one feel. Now, you know, on the first tee now driving, Tiger Woods, totally different feel. The adrenaline's there. What's your body going to want to revert to? Is he going to be able to trust what he has with his new body? We haven't seen it in competition. He doesn't know how he might react. And this is the greatest player I've ever seen at adaptability and being able to understand what he has and what he doesn't have with his body, being able to shape shots, being able to figure out with his hands, basically, if he's late, if he's early with his swing, what he needs to do right at the bottom of the ball. He's got to relearn that again. He's got to relearn those feels again now because of this right leg and the accident that he had with the right leg. So he's the greatest I've ever seen at doing that and adapting those situations. But now he's got to do it on the biggest stage on one of the most difficult golf courses and one of the most difficult walks in golf. And that's a totally different animal. Do I think he can do it? I think he can do it. It's just, again, it's just a matter of whether or not he can hit enough balls, he can put in enough practice, he can have enough understanding of the feels that he has going into the this week. Because as we both know, there's, as we all know, there's weather coming in, and so he's going to have a limited time to prepare for this Masters tournament.
Well, Rolf, you watched him up close, firsthand, adapt with an injury, of course, at the 2008 US Open. Now, this is going to be a little bit different because he's not injured per se. It's just a question of how fully recovered he is to get back to the Tiger that he expects himself to be. But what did you witness all those years ago at the US Open?
Well, I witnessed a performance that was just mind-numbing to me. How much pain he was in. Walking alongside him for a number of rounds, I could literally hear his leg. You could hear a cracking every once in a while of sort of a bone on bone. It's important to remember, Cara, that was a left leg injury back then. People may say, well, okay, left leg, right leg, what is the difference? There's a very, very big difference, particularly for a right-handed golfer. Tiger at the time was trying to adapt and play a pretty big fade just to simply get the ball in play. That's the safest shot as opposed to a big draw. But when you're trying to hit a fade as a right-handed golfer, you have to sort of swing against your left side, which you just saw him do there. That's his good leg now. His right leg is the tougher leg. The difference between Augusta National, too, and Torrey Pines is quite unique. Torrey Pines is right on the cliffs overlooking the ocean, but it's relatively flat golf course. There's a lot of flat lies out there. You almost never find that here at Augusta National. With the right leg being the problem, where he is going to have the biggest challenge is when that is his downhill leg. So, for example, the uphill shots are going to be harder for him than the downhill shots. Because if you're a right-handed golfer, it's your right leg that is your base and your source of stability on an uphill shot. So one of them that comes to mind for me is the second shot at number 8.
Bingo. I was thinking the exact same thing. Yep.
Okay, so he may be tempted to see if he can hit it 280 yards up the hill and knock it on the green in 2.
Yeah.
But it's the right leg that's going to be an issue, and that might cause him to say,